Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Good Monday and welcome into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here with you. And Mo, I don't guess you need those until we get to the guest portion, but might as well throw them in while you can.
Well, they probably look better in my ears and over my shoulder is what I would think.
One would assume that, sure.
Although, I noticed a few weeks ago and I couldn't figure out what it was. The umpires, the home plate umpires are wearing these earpieces so that they can communicate with replay officials at the major league level. They're wearing them just hanging out of their shirt so that they can just grab it and plug it in in the result of replay. But I couldn't figure out what it was when I first saw it, and then I finally figured it out. It's like, that looks kind of tacky. So I figured I'd plug these in.
Yeah, I feel you.
Where they go.
I feel you. Okay. Well, hey, I'm in for it, man. Whatever you think looks good. I am not good. Who am I to say otherwise? We've got a heck of a show lined up, and I know it seems like we're working,
still
but we are kind of getting ready for it. But Mondays are an interesting day for us. Sometimes they're really busy. Sometimes they're not busy. Sometimes you just get stuck. Anyway, we do have Christopher Gabriel coming up. He's going to join us here in just a moment and talk about what's next for the Pac-X, which is now down to 4 teams. So there's that. And we will also talk about the Pac-12 as it sits currently, because there is one more season of the Pac-12, and we'll talk to Justin Adams out of Colorado, who does some play-by-play work for the Pac-12 network. As we talk to Justin Adams, we will probably ask him about the comments from another Justin. Yeah, we probably will. So there's a lot to get to in that. We've also got I guess an interesting guest for a Monday. Typically, we don't do a whole lot of high school stuff on Mondays, but we've got one of the 15 Chris Harrises that we know. I mean, there's a WSMV. I found that one today. I forgot I forgot about him. Mm-hmm. And but Chris Harris, the Rutherford County Schools athletics director, will be joining us today. They've got some new policies that they're going to be implementing this school year for sports. So we wanted to get him on and talk about that. And then, of course, whatever else is going on in the world of Rutherford County Schools. So plenty to get to Mo. It's going to be a really good show. I'm looking forward to this one because Reaction Monday never fails, and rapid fire reaction today will certainly be fun to watch. So that's the last segment of the day, of course. So stick around for that. But
Are we gonna make this work?
I think it's going to work.
Okay.
I feel like I've got everything I need to get in because obviously soccer is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think we can do it. So let's go ahead. Let's jump into the weekend's results, and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
The Monday rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy. Prepared for college, equipped for purpose.
American Legion Region Tournament action. Fuquay Varina, North Carolina took down Columbia Post 19 3-2, ending their season. And in Little League Region Tournament play, how about this? Georgia downs Nolensville 6-2 in the winners bracket semifinals, but Nolensville bust through the bottom half of that bracket, defeating South Carolina 8-1, Virginia 7-2, and then getting Georgia back with a 4-0 win to earn a berth in the region championship against Florida, which will take place, is it today at 3 o'clock? Tomorrow.
Return to the mound after 91 days for Max Fried as the Braves blank the Cubs. 8-0 3-6 shutout innings, 3 hits. And the Cubs took that personally, winning the next two games, 8-6 on Saturday and 6-4 home a sweep at Wrigley Field. The Nationals sweeping the Reds 6-3, 7-3, 6-3. Astros take 2 of 3 from the Yankees, winning 7-3 on Friday. 3-1 on Saturday, winning 9-7 on Sunday. The Rangers sweeping the Marlins 6-2, 9-8 on Saturday, and Dallas Brian Weathers' Miami debut, and 6-0 on Sunday. Washington 2-3. Cardinals winning 9-4 on Friday, losing 6-2 on Saturday, winning a classic 1-0 on Sunday.
A classic 1-0 in Denver. Okay. You don't see those very often.
No, you don't. Somebody was pitching their fannies off.
Minor league play, the Sounds did not win the series against Durham. And they won Friday 6-0, but fell on Saturday 7-3 and Sunday 7-6. WNBA action. It was Connecticut 88-72 winners over Indiana. Washington downs LA 79-77, and Chicago was a 104-89 winner over Dallas. It was New York 76, Minnesota 66, and Seattle 97-91 over Phoenix on Saturday. On Sunday, Atlanta took down Indiana 82-73. The LA Sparks were 81-73. I apologize. 81-73 winners over Washington. Chicago 104, Dallas 96, and then the most shocking score I think I may have ever seen in WNBA play: the New York Liberty 99, Las Vegas Aces 60.
Yeah. Angel Wilson, I think, was 2 of 14 from the floor in the ball game and got shaken up at some point. Was thought to have possibly suffered a concussion in that game. So that would certainly change the complexion of things for.
And Sabrina Ionescu hit about 47 threes.
She can certainly do that.
Yeah, she's known.
She can
to
do that
in the past.
Yeah. So yeah. Little League. Well, Little League Region Championship, as you mentioned, down in Warner Robins, Georgia, tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Central Time. Florida. Polo playing for its 3rd straight World Series. So, yeah. Major League action tonight at 5:40. You've got The Marlins at Cincinnati against the Reds, also at 5:40. It's the Nationals and the Phillies. At 6:05, the Braves are at PNC Park against the Pirates. That game can be seen on Valley Sports South. Cubs Mets 6:10 at Citi Field.
Come on, Drew Smiley, do your thing.
All right. Never did it for us. Might as well do it for us now. Rockies Brewers 7 o'clock in Milwaukee. And let's see.
That's it for
That's
our teams.
it for the major league games of local interest. WNBA action today at 6. No, that's not
That's
right.
tomorrow.
Yes.
No WNBA today.
That's no WNBA today.
No. The only other thing that's on television tonight that you might care about is at 9 o'clock on FS1. Team USA and Puerto Rico will play hoops. An exhibition. That's it.
What's it on?
It's on FS1 at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
So there you go.
There you
That's
go.
your rundown.
That is your rundown.
Top stories brought to you by our friends at Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill in Columbia. Make sure to go by and see the fine folks there. They are a lot of fun, for sure. And they take care of you, whether it's in the deli, meat and vegetables, or with fresh produce, and of course, hand-cut meats on the regular. So, all right, today's top story. Earlier today, the AFCA coaches poll dropped. And I believe, Justin, we have a graphic that shows us said coaches poll. So let's check that out and see if it's available to us.
Check it out.
Oh, that's not it. All right, well, there we go.
A visual.
Clearly number one, Georgia. Surprise, surprise.
Okay. Even with the quarterback questions.
There are some questions, but there are questions everywhere at quarterback except number 2 and number 5 and number 6. So Michigan being number 2, you got to think that quarterback, not having a quarterback question probably has a lot to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama at number 3, ahead of Ohio State, I guess. I think that's interesting. I mean, it's Alabama. I get that. But based on what they did last year, not having a quarterback named this year. Number 3, based on what? The fact that Nick Saban exists? Okay, that's fine. But LSU beat them last year. Ohio State just played for – I mean, I obviously understand that Ohio State obviously –
I don't necessarily understand Alabama ahead of Ohio State. Or I don't necessarily have an issue with Alabama ahead of Ohio State. I don't think I understand Alabama ahead of LSU for the reasons you just mentioned. LSU beat them last year. LSU has its quarterback coming back. Alabama does not have its quarterback coming back, and they don't necessarily know, or if they do know, these coaches don't know who their quarterback is.
Right. So I find this very interesting. I think USC being at number 6 is also quite interesting, especially considering Tulane. Obviously they've got some holes to fill as well. But
Caleb Williams ain't one of them. No. They got 99 problems with quarterback.
And that's I think that's probably the biggest factor here, right? I mean, is that
he's only the returning Heisman Trophy winner.
Exactly. He's returning as a Heisman Trophy winner. He is in a conference that they feel like they should win pretty.
Conference that doesn't exist.
Well, there's that. I mean, the next Pac-12 team you have is Washington, and I'm going to tell you, Washington, Utah, and Oregon, to me, are backwards.
Hey, you think it should be Oregon, Utah, and Washington? Or?
Yeah, and maybe I'm biased.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think Bo Nix is, and Oregon as a program is probably in a better place than Washington and Caleb DeBoer or Kalen DeBoer
And Michael Penix.
and
Didn't he
Michael
back?
Penix. Yeah, but I still think Bo Nix is a better quarterback than Michael Penix Jr. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like Oregon is a little bit. Oregon's underranked at 15. If Oregon and Washington were flipped, I would have no problems with that.
Well, I think Oregon is particularly underranked at 15 when you look at Texas sitting there at 12.
Sure. And, obviously all the questions Texas has had for a while. But obviously they were picked to win the Big 12 going away.
I think that says more about the Big
enough.
12 than it does about Texas, though.
I think Texas is certainly talented enough. But the execution is where they have failed.
And the devil is in the details.
And it really, really bugs me that Clemson is ahead of Tennessee. Like, it bugs me to know that Clemson is ahead of Tennessee.
Well, and this isn't breaking any news to tell you that there is a very real anti-Tennessee sentiment out there.
For coaches, sure.
For everybody.
But I would also think that
You'd like to think that there's an anti-Dabo sentiment out there? Huh?
And that's what I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's one that kind of really bugs me. I feel really bad here for.
I'm not going to worry about it just for the fact that Tennessee is a preseason top 10 pick.
Tennessee being preseason top 10 is certainly different.
In a good way.
I'm not mad about it. TCU all the way at 16 now, coming off the national championship appearance. Of course, they lost. They lost Duggan. They lost.
What you call them?
Dugan and everybody else. So,
what did you call them?
Well, I never said they couldn't be Texas or TCU. You are the one who refuses to call them TCU, which is fine by me.
They lost their last game 65-7. They don't deserve to be able to tell you what to call them.
You call them whatever you
want. They will
right?
be Texas Christian until I decide otherwise.
and it kind of bugs me. And I know that obviously they played for a national title, but it kind of bugs me that if you're going to rank them 16, 17, that the one who beat the other would not be behind. So it's kind of frustrating. It's like, come on now. Kansas State to me has a better returning cast than does Texas Christian. So,
they both left you with pretty bad tastes in your mouth, though, at the end of the year.
Well, I mean, I think 17 is probably fair for Kansas State. I'm just saying that if
16 may not be fair for TC.
If 17 is
Texas
fair for
Christian.
Kansas State, then Texas Christian should be 18 or whatever. It's awfully interesting to see Oregon State here.
Stop. Oklahoma at 19.
Based on the fact that they're Oklahoma, yeah, that's it. That's it. And
okay, so which one surprises you more, Oklahoma at 19 or A&M at 25?
I think A&M at 25 is probably fair. Again, based on talent alone. Obviously, you made the hire of Bobby Petrino, so you upgraded your offensive staff. You have the talent to be good. It's just a matter of putting it all together. So I think that's they're probably a top 25 team, but we're not going to give them too much love, kind of thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think Wisconsin being in the top 25 is interesting. New coach, and what do we know about the Badgers? Not a whole lot. So, but again, you got to rank somebody. And who else are you going to do? I mean, South Carolina is the 27th ranked team in this. They were number 2 in the
and these others receiving votes are almost as intriguing as the top 25. because I was the number 26 team. Kentucky is top 30, looks like.
Kentucky's top 30.
32. They're
So,
32nd. Arkansas getting votes, Auburn getting votes. South Alabama, good for the Jags.
This is coaches polls are always interesting. One, because coaches aren't doing them.
All right.
Two, the people who are doing them aren't watching much college football anyway. Three,
I've said that before, and
Yeah.
I may have said it on this show.
Yeah.
I think college football writers probably see less college football than anybody. Although I will say they probably see more now than they did when I was
in the 90s.
covering and I was a voter back in the 90s.
Yeah, you can certainly watch enough now to know, because every game is on somewhere, and so but coaches polls are always interesting. I'm not surprised that only one G5 team entered the top 25. It's usually only one or two by the end of the year. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out, and I'll be interested to watch it. But yeah, Notre Dame 13 is right there in the mix. Texas Tech.
Maybe that helps explain why Marcus Freeman is on somebody's hot seat.
I guess.
Because if they aren't top 10, top 15 at the end of the year, then they feel like they've underachieved.
Perhaps. I think that's a good point. So, all right. Well, we'll take a quick break. Christopher Gabriel is standing by. Now, whether we get him on video or not remains to be seen, but he can hear us. So, if nothing else, we'll listen to his voice as we do occasionally out at KMJ Now Radio. So, stick around. Main Street Sports Days presented by Mid Tennessee Bond and Joint. We'll be back to the Lee Company studio in just a moment. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yao, as you see right there on your screen. He's Mo Patton, as you can see right there on your screen. And we are Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We are in the Lee Company studio in Columbia down here. Glad to be here, too, because I wasn't sure I was going to be able to leave my house at one point earlier today. It was absolutely – I could not see outside my front door. I couldn't even see my driveway.
Was it monsoon?
It was absolutely I'm wearing my duck boots because I was worried. I was like, it's going to be wet outside. Apparently, not so much now, thank goodness. But yeah, looking forward to this next segment as we bring in Christopher Gabriel from the West Coast. And unfortunately, we have not been able to figure out his video issue here on our end. So until we can figure something out, Christopher, we will listen to the sultry tones of your voice. What's going on, man?
Hey, gentlemen, how are you? You can hear me okay, though, right?
You can hear you perfectly. And really, with all due respect, that's all that matters.
No, you're right, because nobody needs to see me.
Well, I would just as soon they not see me either, but it is what it is.
Well, you're both very dapper gentlemen. You know, it's interesting. I don't know that I can remember a weekend in college sports like we've had. And I'm looking forward to seeing where you guys want to go with all this, because there's so many different angles. I've had a lot of discussions with media pals down in your part of the country, and I think a lot of what's happened, what's getting lost in a lot of this, in particular, at least for me, are two communities that are as passionate about their schools and their teams as Knoxville is for the Vols, as Baton Rouge is for LSU, and so on. And that's Corvallis with Oregon State and Pullman for Washington State. I've been to both places a number of times. And you talk about a bad time for one school in particular for this to happen. Oregon State, they have one of the most underrated football stadiums in the country in Reser Stadium. It just went through something like $200 million of renovations. It's a gorgeous place. It's deafening. It's just a blast to go see. And now they're thinking, well, we've got nothing. But more important, they do have something. They're going to play. But more importantly, these are communities that, there's memes about them, making fun of them. These are communities like anywhere in the SEC, anywhere in the Big Ten, that you have generations of fans that have grown up following the Cougars, following the Beavers, and they go on road trips and they donate their money. And now they're just sitting out there saying, well, USC and UCLA are never going to make a trip up here again. Arizona State, Arizona, never going to make a trip up here again. Stanford and Cal, never going to make a trip up here again unless they all kind of combine. I understand a lot of these moves, fellas, but I also just wonder who is running the asylum at this point.
It's a great question. And to your point, to me, Oregon State is a program that, one, doesn't deserve this. And two, has proven they are exactly what you just said. They're a passionate fan base. They just put $160 million into their stadium by building that entire new side of the stadium. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why Oregon State is not among the teams making a move, unless they just didn't want to. And I obviously can't see that being the case. What I did see, though, was a claim that Arizona, I believe it was Arizona, that someone who ended up going to the Big 12 actually asked the Big 12 to take everybody except those two schools. And That doesn't make sense to me.
No, and I've talked to people down there as well, and I haven't heard that. I do know, and I'm sure that I'm not breaking any news for both of you, so forgive me if I'm repeating stuff that you both know and you both have already talked about, because you guys, one of the reasons I enjoy coming on with you is you guys are very detailed, and you get, you cover stuff A to Z. There was this report that surfaced, and this is accurate, that Arizona and Arizona State has said, you know what, we're going to stay. The deal has changed a little bit. We're going to stay. And then the Big Ten got word with that. That deal changed just a little bit. Suddenly, Oregon and Washington bolted, and then Arizona State said, we're out too. We're going to the Big 12. Utah out of there as well. This has so many moving parts, and I think one of the most fascinating parts of all this, guys, is the part that's not moving, and that's the conference that I cover out here, amongst a bunch, and that's the Mountain West. And it's going to be interesting, and I know we're going to talk about it, to see how this plays out, because I can tell you, their new commissioner, Gloria Nevarez, she is sharp. Let me just tell you, probably haven't, most of your listeners probably don't know this, but this is a woman who basically reshaped the entire WCC, the West Coast Conference. That, of course, is the conference of Gonzaga. And, I mean, everything that you see from that conference, everything they've been able to accomplish, anything they've been able to get in the way of any kind of TV money is because of her. But she sits on the NCAA Division I Transformation Committee. She sits on the NIT Basketball Selection Committee. She's also on the NCAA Division I Basketball Oversight Committee. This is a 25-year veteran of college athletics. She is sharp. She is savvy. She is no pushover. She's very similar. Midwest fans would know Patty Viverito. She's the commissioner of the Missouri Valley Football Conference. She is one tough lady. And the plan is on the table, guys, for Oregon State, for Washington State, Stanford, and Cal to come to the Mountain West. That's the starting point. There's a couple of other machinations of that which are in play. Number two is, will the Pac-4, as we'll call them now, are they going to stay intact, and are they going to invite a select group? That's the phrase that was given to me. A select group of Mountain West members to their conference, and then additionally go after a couple of TV market teams, schools that also happen to be really good academic schools. The two schools that were mentioned to me, and you've heard these already, SMU and Tulane. I think if it was up to me, I would love to see the Mountain West absorb those four schools. But here's the dynamic, fellas. Here's the dynamic that a lot of folks in your part of the country, and really the rest of the country outside of the West, don't get. What I mean don't get is they don't hear it. And that is that Stanford, with all due respect to great academic powerhouse, the best athletic department in the country, I know a lot of fans in the SEC will laugh at that, but they win more than everybody. Yeah, it's Olympic sports, but they are pretty darn good in their 28 to 32 sports. They want nothing to do with Fresno State. They want nothing to do with Boise State. They don't want anything to do, or they have never wanted anything to do with the Mountain West. So they're going to be the ones to watch, guys, because Oregon State and Washington State, and boy, Chris, you're right. Oregon State especially doesn't deserve this. They don't deserve this at all. They've won national championships in baseball. That you can't get a seat in Gill Coliseum for basketball, one of the great old arenas in the country. You can't get a seat for football. It's a shame that that's happened. But they don't have any leverage right now, Oregon State and Washington State. So if Gloria Nevarez, if the invitation goes to them, you can almost be assured they're going to take it. Stanford and Cal, they're the wild cards here. And this just came in, this came in during my program this morning. There has been a meeting called for 7 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow morning for the Cal Regents. The thought is one of two things. Either they're going to make a decision once they get out of that room, there's going to be a decision about which way they're going forward, or there's going to be a lawsuit. How the lawsuit would be written and who it's against, who knows? But that jumped out at all of us out here because we had heard rumblings about that. We'll see what happens there. Finally, Chris, you and I talked privately yesterday about Stanford, and there's a lot of talk that Stanford could go independent as a football team. Let's just remember this. Prior to the contract running out and the new contract for the Pac-12, the new media rights deal, Pac-12 teams were getting about $37 million a year each. That was largely fueling Stanford football. If they don't have anything like that in line with them, going as an independent, they're going to have to depend on basically big buy games, which to a lot of folks in Palo Alto, it's just horrific to even think about that. But you would probably see them try schedule a Notre Dame, of course. Try to get USC on the schedule. Maybe get a Michigan or an Ohio State on there, but they're going to need buy games because I'm here to tell you, and you both know this, they can go as an independent in terms of their endowment, but they're going to give up any chance of getting into the college football playoff. There's 12 spots, and they're not going to go. They'll have no shot. The only shot they would have would be in a conference. And then the other thought is, well, maybe Stanford will go to the WCC, to the West Coast Conference that I mentioned earlier. Maybe Cal will do the same. Well, that's all well and good, but suddenly they're trading Pac-12 arenas and conferences and that money to go to play in 4,000-seat gyms. With all due respect to Gonzaga and St. Mary's, that's pretty much what the conference is. So it's going to be interesting. This is going to all happen, I think, sooner than later. It's going to be interesting to see which direction they go and what Oregon State and Washington go, or which way they go.
This is what we could have had. The left side. You could have had the Pac-16 in 2012 that included Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M.
Yep.
And all of this could have been avoided. Instead,
And what would the entire landscape of college athletics look like had that happened?
oh gosh, who knows? I mean, it's a completely different world, in my opinion.
I mean, where's the DeLorean? Let's load up.
It would be cool to see.
I mean, if the SEC doesn't get Texas and Oklahoma, what do they do? You know what? Or Texas A&M.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had Texas A&M.
Fellas, you make a great point about how that landscape could have been different in 2012. And let me just address that point.
What happened? Let's go through that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, because, you guys know, and anybody listening to me knows that because of family and a number of reasons, I'm a lifelong SEC fan, lifelong Tennessee fan. But I went to USC. So I understand the Pac-12 really well. And I'm here to tell you, and nobody really is going to deny it, that there is a level of pomposity and arrogance in that conference, and it comes from academics and it comes from politics. And there's a snippet of religion in there as it applies to BYU. The academics part of it is, I have great respect for all the universities in that conference. They range from good schools to absolute, world-renowned schools. But they have put so much of an emphasis, and back then they put so much of an emphasis on that, those schools out there, Oklahoma, they're just not at our level. They're really not. And you would make the argument, and it's a fair argument, saying, well, hold on a second now. Texas A&M is a pretty darn good school. But there's the rub, and that is that they still didn't feel that they were good enough. I mean, it's ludicrous. So you have that component. And then you have the politics of it. And I don't care whether you are to the left or to the right. If you are going to have college presidents and then administrators and a conference commissioner allowing any kind of political thought, as crazy as it sounds, right? To say, well, I'm not sure that politically these schools are in our mold. Well, that's a big no as well. And then the religion part of it, with Latter-day Saints, you have a schedule with Mormons, with Latter-day Saints, with BYU. You have the very real element of what day they won't be scheduled. They won't schedule games, and that's Sunday. And respect to them for doing that. They stick to that, and they make no apologies for it. I'm not Mormon, but I applaud them. They make no apologies for it, nor should they. But fellas, these three things going back to 2012, but in particular the first two, got in the way, and they have always been in the way of the Pac-12. And I would add this: you can make the argument about the academics, but it kind of went out the window a little bit with Arizona and Arizona State. because they are not at the level of SC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal, the Oregons, and the Washingtons. They just are not. They're good schools, but they're not at the level. So as much as they would like to say, hey, Mo, Chris, we've got the academic thing. Yeah, well, what about Arizona and Arizona State?
Annually ranked among the top party schools in the country.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right.
This whole thing is, the fact is that we're obviously going to see the Pac-X likely, well, I say obviously, likely it's going to dissolve. I can't imagine a scenario in which they try to invite teams in, because the fact is that even if they did have, quote, Power 5 history, they don't have Power 5 programs at this point, at least not to the level that everyone else does. So if that's the case, what is better? The Mountain West going up or the Pac-X going down? Do they rebrand? How does that work?
Well, you make a very important point, and I'm going to add to that. I'm not going to disagree necessarily, but I'm going to add to it a little bit. The Mountain West is in a good position, that they're solid. They've got their, they've got their conference, that everything's set there, but they don't have the brand name that the Pac-12, 10, 8, going back, Pac-X, whatever we want to call it. They simply don't have that equity. So that's why a lot of folks out here and a lot of folks on the inside are saying there needs to be, who's going to blink first, fellas? You have a little bit of that going on. Who's going to blink first? And that's why the thought is, can we merge? When I say we, I'm talking about the Pac-4 talking. Can we merge some or all with the Mountain West, but can we rebrand this as a new Pac-10, Pac-12, Pac-16, whatever the case may be, to keep that name, to keep that status? That's really the crux of this. A couple of the schools in the Mountain West, Fresno State for a while thought that they were going to get to the Big 12. And I went on the air on my program, and you might have seen the blurb that I put on with me and Cam Worrell as the sideline reporter of Fresno State and former Chicago Bear, that when Colorado announced they were going to the Big 12, that all but sealed the deal that Fresno State, Boise State, none of them were going to find their way to the Big 12, because that was the doorway that we just out here, we just sort of knew that the Arizonas and Utah were going to follow. Didn't have concrete evidence, but we just sort of knew. So as far as whether they should go up or down, I think, Chris, to your question, I think they need to come together somehow. They need to find a way to come together. Stanford and Cal are waiting. This is what they will tell you off the record. They didn't tell me this, but this is what I've heard from my sources, that they still believe an invite could come from the Big Ten. Fellas, I don't know what you think. I don't see it. I simply don't see it. Yeah, they're in a huge TV market, but neither school has any athletic equity that's worth a damn to the Big Ten. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't. If it was coming, it would have already come.
Exactly.
They wouldn't have stopped at Oregon, Washington just to add those two later.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. There's absolutely, we have all just racked our brains trying to think of any reason why they would have delayed an invite. Well, there is none. There is none. There's absolutely no reason. And by the way, when USC and UCLA announced last year, it's interesting how some people got caught by surprise. The Oregon-Washington announcement. I said literally a week on KMJ after the SC-UCLA announcement, I said, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, and I wasn't the only one saying it by any means, look to Oregon and Washington, the Big Ten, sooner or later. They may not add them, but they're going to invite them because it made sense. And you and I, or the three of us, have talked about this. the huge brand that is Washington and Oregon. Oregon with Nike money, they do exceptionally well across the board in athletics. Washington, same thing, huge TV market. Both schools have great facilities, national equity. Washington's won a national championship. They've been to the college football playoff. Oregon has been to the playoff. It made perfect sense. So anybody saying that they didn't expect this was going to happen, where have they been in Iceland? I mean, what are they doing?
It's so funny that you say Iceland because we've got one of our freelance photographers in Iceland as we speak. But anyway, Christopher Gabriel joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, as we continue to discuss the shifting sands of college athletics. And college athletics, not college football. And that's the one thing that I think gets overlooked or can get overlooked if you're not careful when you're discussing this whole situation. And, Chris Yao, you and I have talked about this, and I'm sure Christopher Gabriel, this has come up in your discussions as well. But don't you feel a little bit sorry for those Oregon, Rutgers volleyball players or tennis players
Did you see the regent from Michigan who said it was closer to fly to London than it would be to Eugene, Oregon?
Yeah, I saw that too from that region at Michigan, and I think it's more than a little bit. I feel terrible for, we used to call them non-revenue, now it's Olympic sports athletes. And we were talking, you mentioned Rutgers and Oregon. Let's use that example where it's February or it's March, and you're on the Rutgers women's volleyball team, and you're getting on a plane in New York City or in Philly, and you're connecting to Chicago, and you're connecting through Salt Lake City, and then you land in Portland, and then you find your way down on a small commuter jet to Eugene to get there for a 2-hour volleyball match, only to turn around, take a shower, get your clothes on, and get back and do another 3,100 miles the other way. I feel terrible for these student athletes. And really, you're absolutely right. You set that up perfectly. This is not about college football. It's about college athletics. And it's about the tennis team, water polo, golf, heck, in a lot of schools, it's equestrian and it's wrestling. All of these sports that in many schools have been shut down because they didn't have enough money. And I would think it wouldn't surprise me to see some of these sports at a lot of these schools get shut down at some point sooner than later, sooner meaning the next 5 years, because even with this big media rights deal, you're talking about a lot of long trips for a lot of teams, men's and women's. And there's just, in many cases, fellas, all these schools are not Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, USC, UCLA, and so on. They are Rutgers. They are Maryland. They are, Iowa. Iowa's got, good athletic department, but Iowa is not raking in the money like some of the other schools in the Big Ten. You just wonder how soon we're going to see that happen. I feel terrible for these student athletes because this is where the adults in the room, I feel like the adults in the room have not been the adults in the room. They have been, go ahead, sorry.
And when you see that, Christopher, then soon after that, you're going to see some Title IX issues.
Absolutely. You beat me to it. Absolutely. Title IX is going to come into play here. We have a situation where if anything has redefined unintended consequences, that's what's going to be coming into play here.
I don't think that is 100% true, and you're going to see a lot of issues come out of this, and travel being one of them. And just like our friend Matt Brown, who we'll have on tomorrow, Matt said an entire week of Big Ten scheduling is going to get messed up because someone stuck at O'Hare.
Yes. That's of course that's my hometown. And I remember times getting ready to get on a plane there just to go to Cleveland, and it took longer to go to Cleveland than it would have to fly to Japan. O'Hare's a great airport in nice weather.
Till you're stuck in it.
Yeah. Till you can't leave.
Right.
Nice place to visit. Wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah.
The terminal, man. Oh, CG, man, thank you so much for taking time with us. There are so many things that we could just keep going into, but and as much as we probably don't want to talk about Braves baseball, we have forced ourselves into doing so.
Well, and this guy just mentioned that his home is Chicago. So
yeah,
not a Cubs fan. Not a Cubs fan.
Goodness.
Okay.
No, let me just be real clear about one thing here. You know, every time you bring me on, by the way, thank you for the invite. Chris, you got a hold of me really early this morning. I'm always happy to come on with both of you. I
was concerned with that because when he asked me if we could get you, it was 9 o'clock here. And I'm thinking, that's fantastic, but it's 7 o'clock on the West Coast. So if you're going to hit him, good luck.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm at the studio at 4:30 a.m., so that was fine. But I'll just say this real quick. You know, every time I come on, I'm staring at that giant A, and I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, you know, at least you don't have to. Whenever I hear Braves fans, and most of my family on my mom's side, Georgia and Tennessee, they're all Braves fans. And when I see Chris lamenting about somebody at the plate who struck out a couple times, or somebody came in from the bullpen, I'm just sitting there shaking my head saying, fellas, you're not White Sox fans. Just remember that. You're not White Sox fans, where the only thing I have to cheer for is to see if the White Sox can lose 100 games.
Well, as you say that, I did kind of grow up liking the White Sox because I'm from Birmingham. So
okay. That makes sense. Sure. Yeah, the Barons.
But other than that, I mean, I rooted for them in Double-A and really didn't care. And we're probably going to talk a little bit about the White Sox, but you're not going to want to hear that.
I have no doubt. Listen, fellas, anytime you want me, I'm delighted to come on. Love listening to the show. I lurk more than you think I do. So there you go.
We appreciate it. Lurkers are good.
Have a good one, fellas.
Thanks, CG.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, This Day in Braves history, a little bit about the Braves, and probably that's all you're going to get. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Back to the Lee Company studio after this.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
There is nothing better than drinking an ice-cold beverage while taking in a Nashville Sounds baseball game. Hi, I'm Stephanie Miller with Mornings on Main Street. The Nashville Sounds and Main Street Media Television have teamed up to promote Sunday Family Fun Day here at First Horizon Park, each Sunday home game. Just go to your favorite Main Street Media website and click on Sounds Main Street Media Day banner to register to win free tickets. And then we'll see you here at the ballpark.
Let your child play like the pros this fall season and join Titans Flag Football in their NFL Flag Football League. Titans Flag Football is no contact, easy to learn, convenient with teams meeting once per week for practices and games on Sundays. And we cannot forget, it's ridiculously fun. Teams are co-ed with ages from pre-K through 8th grade in select locations across Middle Tennessee. Visit TitansFlagFootball.com and sign up before registration closes on September 4th. Let's play together and win together this fall season with Titans Flag Football.
Y'all, I'm serious right now. They have a dragon here. I saw it. But no, they don't. There's no such thing as dragons. I swear, I saw it. It had huge claws. Get out of here. It had eyes as big as the moon. Come on, I'll show you. Wait up. Do you hear that? We're almost there. Whoa! I told you so. That is a dragon.
August 7th, 2001. Greg Maddux allowed 5 runs, 4 earned over 6 innings. Yeah.
What?
That was his day in Braves. But did not issue a walk in the Braves 6-5 win over visiting Houston. With those 6 frames, Maddux moved past Christy Mathewson and Randy Jones to set the National League record for consecutive innings without a walk. Maddux extended his string to 70 1/3 innings, bettering the previous mark of 68 that was set by Christy Mathewson and tied by Randy Jones.
Houston came in knowing he was throwing strikes. He wasn't walking nobody, so we're swinging, baby.
There you go. It's going to be in the zone. With an intentional walk in the 3rd inning of his next start against Arizona, Maddux pushed the mark to 72 1/3 innings, which was 12 short of the Major League record set in 1962 by Kansas City's Bill Fisher. That was his day in Braves history.
That's brutal.
That's pretty rough. 2 innings in the top.
Yeah, like what are you doing? That's interesting.
Very. Yeah. So,
oh,
wouldn't have minded having Greg Maddux on Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, pitching was not great for Atlanta in Chicago over the weekend. And you know what? And this is somebody mentioned this, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Braves day games.
Still?
Clearly. I mean, I've not kept up with it as much as I did last year.
Well,
it was pretty obvious last year.
It's not been as big an issue as it was well, there haven't been as many day games.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know how many day games, but you go back to Soroka in Oakland. I mean, you go.
Well, that was Soroka.
Well, I understand, but I'm just saying the offense didn't hit very well. I think it's an offensive thing more than a pitching thing for day games. So I don't know why. So I don't know why they were unable to win and pitch well. But yeah, between Bryce Elder and Charlie Morton, just a rough weekend.
I hesitate to put too much of it on the offense. I mean, again, they lost 8-6 on Saturday. They lost 6-4 on Sunday.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the offense, I think, played fairly well.
Right. But I think you have to wonder if Bryce Elder's getting tired, because this is his third start in his last 5 that he's been putrid.
Yeah, and we talked about that. I want to say maybe when Fried went down, I'm not sure. We talked about having Schuster up and going to a 6-man rotation. It may have been before the season, actually.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about Soroka and the 5 that we have, and adding Soroka to make 6, to go to a 6-man rotation in order to push out some of those starts.
And I wonder if you're not going to see Soroka back up here pretty soon for that very reason, just to try to push some guys out. I mean, because
it's not just Elder, but
no, that's what I said. These guys. I mean,
Strider is only a year in. He didn't pitch an entire season last year because he started out in the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at what point does he start tiring out? And Morton is 40 years old,
and he looked it yesterday.
So here's my point: is to me, with all the injuries that we've had, I understand that you want your best as often as you can get them out there, but sometimes if
there was a situation where you could get away with it, it's with a 12-game lead or whatever it is right now.
So to me, this seems like the perfect opportunity, especially you're playing Pittsburgh.
I'm sorry, 10.5.
It is 10.5 at this point. Let's take a look at the schedule over the next couple of weeks, because I know the Mets.
You've got 8 in the next 7 days, because you go to Pittsburgh for 4, and you go to
New York
Citi Field for 4, including a doubleheader on Saturday. Then you come home and you've got the Yankees for 3, an off day. Giants for 3, Mets for 3, and another off day. So you got a couple of off days, which won't hurt.
although one of them is a travel out west.
Yeah.
So that's really not an off day. That's a
yeah.
that's
it's
a
a travel
sleep day and try to figure out how to get acclimated to West Coast time.
Yeah. You know who's going to have to be big over these next couple of days, next couple of weeks? Yanni Chirinos.
Yes, Yanni Chirinos is going to be a massive part of it.
Well, and here's the thing. Yanni Chirinos has an opportunity to solidify himself as the number 3 guy behind Freed and Strider. Because the older is slipping.
I still think Morton's going to be your 3. After that, maybe. And I'm talking about playoffs.
Well, here's the thing. I think that's what Brian Snitker is going to do. I don't know if it's the right call.
He's still sub 4. He's still sub 4.
Okay, you keep throwing that sub 4 out there until he gets blown up for 6 3 1/3 or whatever it is in a game that means something.
So you'd rather go with 4-4-2 Yanni Chirinos?
Yanni Chirinos has
in the playoffs.
Yanni Chirinos has looked better in a Braves uniform than Charlie Morton has
That's
over the
bullcrap.
time
That's
that
bullcrap.
Yanni Chirinos has been
Outside
in a
of
Braves
yesterday,
uniform.
Charlie
And the
Morton had
game before.
Charlie Morton had a quality start the first day.
And looked like crap in the process.
I don't care. I don't care. It's a quality start. 3 runs. The Braves win if they only scored 3 runs yesterday. Charlie Morton,
It's funny how when quality starts means something and when they don't. When wins and losses mean something and when they don't. When ERA means something and when it doesn't.
In the playoffs, that's when it matters. When's the last time Yanni Chirinos has seen a playoff?
So we don't know what he's going to do in a playoff.
Yeah, you're right. You could get Ian Anderson, but you could also get Michael Fultonevich. And which one would you rather have? A guy that you know what you're going to get in the playoffs? Charlie Morton in the playoffs.
Okay, so what Charlie Morton does on August 6th means nothing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're the guy who tells me it's only May 1st. It's only June 22nd.
Well, yeah, there's a big difference in May 1st and August 6th.
But it's the same difference between August 6th and October. That's math. And I'm telling you that Charlie Morton in the playoffs is 100% the move over Yanni Chirinos or anybody else that we have on the 40-man roster. And if you don't think that, I don't know what you've been watching for the last 20 years of Charlie Morton.
I just don't know that the last 20 years of Charlie Morton and 2023 Charlie Morton are the same guy.
But you know what Charlie Morton is capable of.
I absolutely know what he's capable of.
You have no idea what anybody else on this 40-man roster is capable of in the playoffs. Nobody. You have no idea.
He inspires very little confidence in me right now. And that's based on his last 2 starts, even though one of them was a quality start.
I'm just telling you. In October, it's Charlie Morton at number 3 every time. Every time. And it's not close.
I'm really hoping Kyle Wright gets back. That's what I'm really hoping.
Kyle Wright's going to get back. What you get out of Kyle Wright, I don't know. Because again,
and that's the thing. Hopefully he gets back and we get to see enough of him. Well, yeah. Well, he's got to be back September 1 to be on the roster.
Exactly. He's got to be back September 1. And if he's not, 1, you're not going to see him. 2,
right.
Even if they activated him September 1, if he wasn't on the field pitching until mid-September, you're not going to know, and he's not going to have time to work it out to stretch himself. He's got to have a month. So yes, Kyle Wright would be the ideal situation.
It would be, but
because you're telling me that Charlie Morton is not going to match up perfectly with somebody else's number 4. Again, with this offense?
That's the X factor.
I mean, Drew Smiley and Charlie Morton.
Well, I mean, fortunately, you're talking about an offense that can go out and outscore people. Can. He didn't yesterday.
Most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, Justin, who was it? Steele.
Justin Steele, yeah. I mean, it was now again. Justin Steele, 13-3 on the year. This
now
he was 12-3 before yesterday. Dude has not lost a lot.
Yeah, no.
Dude's not
he
lost
was an all-star.
Yeah, I mean, let's remember this is Charlie against their 2. Charlie against their 4 is a different world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's what all we're asking out of Charlie is to be better than their 4. If Kyle Wright's back, now if he's, I still think he's a quality 3. I think he's a guy who can win you a game in the playoffs in the 3 slot. But I would much rather have him in the 4.
He's just so erratic right now. I mean, he's going to hit somebody. He's going to hit somebody with somebody on base. He's going to walk people. And he's going to dance on that ledge, and maybe he's going to come off of it, and maybe he's going to fall off of it. And you don't know which. I mean, he's hard to watch.
Well, so was our entire bullpen for an entire season, and they were perfect in the playoffs. So, I understand what you're saying, but, the Angels – which the Angels have been terrible lately.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. In July, he went 5-2, no earned runs, 6-1, 1 earned run, 7, no earned runs. But then Arizona and Boston, 5.2, 4 earned runs, 3.2, 4 earned runs, 6, 3 earned runs against the Angels, and then 4.1 with 5 earned runs.
I mean, he's got to.
It's less erratic, more streaky.
That's semantics.
But here's what I'm saying is it's kind of interesting how, when the rotation has turned into, before we get Chirinos, and he's going every almost 4th day.
Mm-hmm.
He's pitching better. You add in Chirinos, and now he's pitching, instead of pitching the 14th and 19th, he's pitching the 19th and 25th, which is an extra day.
So what are you saying? He needs less rest?
Apparently, based on what I'm looking at, this doesn't make any sense. I mean, this guy won 5 games in a row, pitching every 4th day. So again, it's almost like he's streaky. He went from a 3.15 ERA to a 3.43, and then back down to a 3.20, and then now he's back up to 3.86. So it's like it's really streaky, and I wonder if that might not be what you have to base it off of in the end.
Well, it's interesting, and he's my biggest concern right now.
All right. We have to take a break.
We do.
Chris Harris is on the line.
He is.
Let's hey Justin, let's do a 1-minute break and just play that promo, and we'll be right back with Chris Harris, Rutherford County Athletic Director, after this.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. She's on Thinking Out Loud, presented by Regions, and Out of Pocket with Alyssa Lang. It is, in fact, Alyssa Lang.
I'm a little nervous. I'm going to lower the bar for guests now.
Oh, no.
Apologies in advance. It sounds like
SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey.
You got that radio voice.
I do.
It's a good sound.
Thanks for radio, too.
As do we. And then here's the other thing. You guys, you're spot on with the name. Everybody wants to be on Main Street. Everybody wants to be on Main Street. So,
and we reach every Main Street in Middle Tennessee, Coach.
Yeah, that's it. So
Perfect.
when you're on Main Street and you are moving,
you gotta love it.
Like you're moving. I was impressed.
I'm glad someone.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. We are in the Lee Company studio here in Columbia. but we are going to bring in a special guest now to talk a little bit about the upcoming school year and athletics and what's going on in Rutherford County, as we have Rutherford County's athletics director, Chris Harris, with us. Chris, thanks for joining.
Glad to be here. Good. Thanks for inviting me here.
Oh, absolutely, Chris. We appreciate it. Just wanted to get a hold of you. A couple of weeks ago, I was sitting at home watching one of the local newscasts, and they mentioned that Rutherford County was going to be implementing a clear bag policy for its athletic events this fall. And it kind of piqued my curiosity a little bit. Are you all just doing this for athletics, or is it, how far reaching is this, first of all? And secondly, what's the thought process behind it? I think I got an idea, but I'd like to let you speak to it.
Yeah, it's primarily inter-school athletic events, but it could be extended to extracurricular activities as well. But it's interscholastic athletics is the main thing. Athletics is the main emphasis, particularly in our stadiums, football stadiums, and things of that nature. That has been the primary emphasis. But we are, it's pretty much at all extracurricular activities. That's correct.
What prompted you all to go in this direction with this?
Well,
at this time, I guess.
I think as you look, what's been happening, particularly last year in Nashville and some of the other events. I think Clarksville, Montgomery went to this during the school year last year. We just started the school board, Dr. Sullivan, they and Patty Easter, our safety director, they came together and we decided to come up with a plan to just ensure the safety of our kids at our school events and athletic events, extracurricular activities. We just thought that the clear bag policy was a way to ensure just to add another feature, another layer to the safety that our school resources officers could have as well, and our staffs at our school to just maintain safety at our events.
The new policy will utilize the clear bags already required at Titans and Predators games, with bags limited to a gallon size or smaller. I'm reading from an article on WSMV.com. But you mentioned Clarksville, Montgomery County going to a clear bag policy during the school year this past year. You feel like it's got a chance of going more smoothly by doing it at the beginning of the school year, where you can get it communicated and that kind of thing?
I think so. And I think we have great parents in our school system, and the people who attend our games. I think people are used to it. It's at MTSU. My wife has one. She keeps one in her vehicle, so it's, I think a lot of people are already used to it already. And we're going to have teachers at the games who are taking up tickets. So a lot of the people are going to be seeing people that they see on a daily basis. Our kids are going to see our faculty members there. So I don't think it's going to be as big a deal as what some people might think. We just ask that our parents and spectators just be patient. We're going to try to get them in as quickly as possible to see these great athletic facilities and see our kids playing. That's the main thing. And just to be patient. There could be a hiccup or two, but I really don't expect that. But if that happens, we'll get them in there as quickly as possible.
With this policy, and with someone, like you said, someone's having to check them and that kind of thing, just to make sure that they do have the proper bags, will you be like increasing the number of folks at gates and that kind of thing, just to try to expedite getting in?
Yeah, that's a good question. We will increase our school resource officers at the gates just to help with the transition. And again, it's not like you have a situation where I don't foresee it's like something like you're going through an airport. That's not what our staff is designed to do. They're going to be checking the bags. You show the bag. They're going to have signs up there that has where you can see the size bag that you ought to have, and then there will be an increased amount of, like I said, SRO presence. But I think just getting these people in as quickly as possible, and people will know this. We're getting the messaging out as quickly as possible, like being here on your show helps too. We've got it on our webpage. All of our, we've asked our athletic directors to get it out to their coaches, to get it out to the visiting team so they can get it out to their fans as well, so they know before they come. So I don't think, I actually think that it's going to go a lot better, be a lot more smoother than what some people may think that it will be.
You hit on a pretty good point there, Chris, I think, in terms of communicating it to visiting teams, non-Rutherford County teams, where their fan base isn't used to
such as
that.
Independence as they travel to Oakland.
Such as Independence, which opens a
Right.
season a week from Friday at Oakland. So yeah, that's but something I wanted to get to, because I mean, go to these games, a lot of these kids still have their backpacks from, they just hang around between the end of school and the ball game or whatever. How do you address that other than just continuing to inform them as well? Hey, look, you can't bring those backpacks in.
Yeah, our students will know. They're being told at the beginning of the year that they're not going to be able to carry those backpacks into the ball games. So the messaging is going to come out daily to our student body about the backpacks and what they can carry in and what they will not be allowed to. But again, our kids, our teenagers, and whoever is attending these games, the messaging will be there. The kids will know, and kids will do what you ask them to do once you get the message out. There'll be a few that you're always going to have a small group that might be a little resistant, but we'll be able to handle that.
Now, obviously, the fact that every major sporting event, stadium, concert, anywhere now has these. So most people are used to having to deal with this at these major events. Have you had any pushback yet from folks about, or can you just kind of speak to a little bit of how you guys have pared that down a little bit to fit the high school model?
Well, I think as a lot of what we're doing is going to be a visual search. We do reserve the right to physically search people, but again, we are asking people again on this level. Some of the messaging is not to even have a bag if you can, and don't bring one into the stadium. If you can, that will help alleviate a lot of this. And so if you have it and it's a clear bag, and if the teachers who are at the staff who's at the gate, they can just glance up there and look at your the clear bag that you have, that'll get you in quickly. And we have people that are clubs and athletic facilities are already selling bags with their names on them and things like that. So our students, our county, our parents, they're participating in it as well. So again, I think I anticipate that it will go a lot smoother than what a lot of people are thinking.
Now, will you allow clutch purses like most of these folks are doing, or is it only clear, period?
Right now, it's limited to the clutch purses. I think, the clutch purses will be they'll be allowed. I'm looking at my notes here. The small clutch purse can be, but no larger than 4.5 by 6 inches.
Gotcha.
But there's some, prohibited items, like those cinch bags. And some of these bags, I have to tell you, I had to check with my wife. I said, wait a minute, what is this right now? Some of these bags, I don't know which ones are which.
So you're going to have to put her on the payroll, huh?
That's right. Yeah.
As a consultant.
Right, that's right.
And what about, and as a parent of a 9-month-old, what about diaper bags?
Nope. The diaper bags, they are prohibited. They can't be allowed in, but you can put diapers in a clear bag.
Okay. That's all I've got there.
That's interesting. And like I said, I saw this a couple of weeks ago, tried to look and find some more information on it and really couldn't. And then I saw, I think Oakland football had tweeted something out to this effect. And so decided that we needed to try to get someone on to discuss this a little bit further, because again, a number of non-Rutherford County schools are kind of in our coverage area, and Rutherford County schools are as well. So wanted to try to educate some folks on what's going on. Chris, are you aware of any other local school systems? You mentioned Clarksville, Montgomery County. I think Cheatham County as well. Are you aware of anybody else that is adopting this, or did y'all discuss this with anybody else as you tried to come up with what you were going to do?
Well, Sean Martin and again, Patty Easter, he's our assistant safety director, and Patty Easter is our safety director. They contact a lot of school safety directors from around the country. And so some of them weren't it may not have been in Middle Tennessee, but they looked at other school systems and how they were doing it, and how they tried to use some of those ideas in our model that we were doing. Like some were just doing athletics, some were doing everything, some were just doing certain sports, like just the outdoor venues, that kind of thing. So what we did was, what they did was kind of use those ideas to incorporate into something that could work for us. And I will say, even for myself, I remember going to a Titans game one time, and I went to a Titans game, and I didn't know about the umbrella policy, and I had a sports umbrella that meant a lot to me. It cost a lot of money. And I remember I had to leave that umbrella at the stadium, and I found out and it was pouring down rain that time. I went with my son to that game, and that didn't make me very happy that day. That's one memory I have about the Titans. It was an exhibition game. I had to leave that umbrella there, and that was but that was something that was part of the process. But now, after so many years, it's become second nature. And I think at some point we won't even think about this clear bag policy in a procedure. People won't even think about it because we're so used to having these things now. And again, the primary reason is for the safety of the kids, the spectators, and our fans.
Well, that's paramount when you're talking about, high school athletics. Safety is most important, and we certainly commend you guys for taking every possible precaution in order to make sure that you guys take their safety as the number one thing. So, and we appreciate you taking time with us here on Main Street Sports today. Looking forward to some trips over to Rutherford County this year. You guys are always fantastic hosts, and we really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you all, and I appreciate everything you guys are doing to continue to get the message out, and what you all do for high school athletics, and just with everything you're doing here in Middle Tennessee.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Take care.
I didn't think about it, but Rutherford County graduation last year at Middle Tennessee State, there was a firearm incident, and it just hit me like right as we were ending that conversation, and
Yeah.
when we're talking about safety, and so obviously that probably had something to do with this. One would think,
If nothing else, it just kind of reinforced the decision.
the necessity of it. So it's a great policy, and if you guys are out there and you are planning to go to a game in Rutherford County, make sure to have your gallon size Ziploc bag.
And in fact, it might be good to just start doing it regardless.
Yep. I mean,
whether the facility that you're going to has a policy or not, because that way you don't get caught off
if
guard.
they do have one,
Mhm.
right? And you show up and you're like, oh crap, I didn't know.
Right.
It's better just to have your stadium bag in the car, no matter what. So we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Justin Adams joins us. We're going to continue our college football preview segments as we talk about the Pac-12.
The 2023
Pac-12 season. We're not going to get into too much else, I hope. So stick around. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll be back to the Lee Company studio in just a moment. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Did you know that up to 80% of us will experience back or neck pain during our lifetime? Many of you are offered surgery or addictive pain pills to relieve your chronic pain. At the Dr. Gill's Center for Back, Neck, Chronic Pain Relief, we have been leading the way to better health, naturally, and have helped tens of thousands of people right here in Middle Tennessee for the past 30 years.
I came to Dr. Gill about 10 years ago after my local doctors recommended surgery. I knew about Dr. Gill and wanted to see if he could help me. 10 years later, I am pain-free, no surgery, and no pain pills.
Surgery is scary, and over 40% of all back surgeries fail, creating a cycle of surgery and pills. There is a safer solution to your chronic pain. Make the call to the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, Chronic Pain Relief today and get your life back. This office visit is normally $299, but call today and receive your initial consultation, report of finding for just $49. But hurry, this offer won't last long. Call 615-768-8743. That's 615-768-8743.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao, Mo Patton, it is going to be a fantastic segment coming your way because we have the Pac-12 2023 edition. Not the Pac-X just yet.
No.
One more year.
And, you know, we talked to Wisconsin play-by-play announcer Matt LePay on Friday about Big Ten. And he made a comment that it's going to be really cool to actually get to talk about football And for the next few minutes, that's kind of what we want to do as we bring in Justin Adams from CBS Colorado to talk Big 12 football. Just all this other off the field stuff.
Let's talk some football for just a minute.
Yeah. Can we do that? Can we do that?
We can, as a matter of fact. We've been.
I think it's possible.
Yeah. Justin, welcome. We appreciate you taking some time with us. And, you know, we can't talk Pac-12 football without talking about Coach Prime.
Yes, sir.
Right there in your backyard. What?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, that was an out-of-the-box hire when Colorado made it. And it seems like, again, certainly off the field, it's having all of the effect that they anticipated it having when they made the move.
Mm-hmm. It's been that and much more. Let's be honest, guys. We're talking about a 1-11 football team, a team that lost 7 games by 30 points or more, a team that was just embarrassing on the field to the point where in the first game of the year where they played TCU, my mom at halftime knew, my mom, by the way, okay, doesn't care much about football. All right, she is a very lovely, sweet woman, okay? She said after the second half kickoff, there are 2 teams out there. There's one that's much faster, and then there's Colorado. And that's the way that it was, okay? To go from that type of team to finally have them on national television for the first 2 games of the year when they play against TCU and they play against Nebraska, to have them being the only team on ESPN during the spring game, it's just ridiculous to see just the change that has happened in Colorado. And it's a great thing to see. Now, the reality is you got to win some games. And so the way that Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, has really propped this team is that they're a team that's going to do very well out of the jump. We all know playing football and understanding the game that it's going to take some time, especially with the first 5 games that they have. They have a very tough slate. So it'll be very interesting to see how they will do. I just hope that people will be patient with this team, especially in the first season.
Well, you know, patience is not something college football fans are known for. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that Coach Prime is used to
known for it.
to be patient, especially when, you know, you've got a quarterback like Shadur Sanders who is going to certainly make a difference at some degree. But obviously, the Pac-12 is a much different animal than, you know, the SWAC. It simply is. So that being said, what are expectations for this team objectively?
Objectively, depending on who you ask, I think the top will be 6-7 wins. If this team can get to a bowl game, that will be a huge leap for this team. But let's call it what it is. If you win 2 games, that's 200% better than what you did last year. You won 1 game, for goodness sake, okay? And that game that you won was in overtime, and that was during family week. Like, everything had to go your way in order to win that game. Objectively, you could say 7 wins would be kind of the top where this team would be. You can honestly see a 4 to 5 win schedule because, again, you go to the first 5 games of the year. You're playing at TCU. You're playing at home against Nebraska, your longtime rival. And then you play against Colorado State, which will be a team that's coming off of a week break for themselves as well. And then you play at Oregon and then at home against USC. Folks, that's just the first 5 games, right? And so very difficult schedule just to get started from there. You have to figure out a way. Oh, and by the way, the last 2 games of the year, you go to play at Washington State on a short week on Friday night, and then you play at Utah. Those are 2 extremely tough places to play no matter when on the schedule. So you have to make sure you take care of your business, especially in the middle part of the schedule.
Now, obviously, the Pac-12 boasts the reigning Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams, and USC seems to be, based on today's coaches poll and what we have seen, the odds-on favorite to win this conference. But there are probably at least 3 teams, probably 4 teams who could really win this conference. It's kind of wide open at the top.
It really is. I mean, when you think about Michael Penix Jr. in Washington, I love the Washington Huskies this year. They have a really, really good team that's returning. It comes down to Utah at the end of the day, guys. You could talk about Oregon, right? Bo Nix. I know we're down in the South a little bit. You know about Bo Nix as well. And the struggles that he had at Auburn but he was able to turn those things around and play very well at Oregon. But again, guys, at the end of the day, it's Utah. Utah is that team, but we talked about Wisconsin a little bit, right? You had a chance to talk to the play-by-play voice on Friday. They remind me of that team so much. They're a two tight end type of football team. They're going to run the ball down your throat, and they're going to hit you on defense. That is what they do. And that's honestly what got Caleb Williams of USC back in the Pac-12 championship game last year. Caleb Williams didn't finish that game. Let's not forget that. He left that game with a hurt hamstring, but he also left that game with other bumps and bruises as well, too. So even though he is a tremendous quarterback, he still has to be able to go and get past a very good Utah team. And there's some teams out there that could really do some damage in the Pac-12 this year. So to me, I still will count Utah as the favorite, but definitely USC has a great opportunity to be able to win the Pac-12 this year.
Justin Adams joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, as we continue our college football previews, taking a look at the Pac-12. Justin, when you talk about Utah the way you do, you feel like they play a style that kind of differentiates them from the rest of the conference with that physicality?
Yeah, it reminds me of Stanford. It's a tried and true way, actually, that does work. There's one or two things that works in the Pac-12, guys. Either you have ridiculous talent outside with your special groups, with your wide receivers, with your tight ends, and you're able to make things happen within your passing game, or you're going to be a team that really beats other people up. Stanford for years were able to do that with Christian McCaffrey and the rest of the crew that they had. So they were able to go and win the Pac-12. They were able to do it that way. Then you have the Oregons of the world that were able to win the Pac-12. Why? Because they just had more speed than anybody else on the field. Well, for USC this year, they have a chance to be able to go and do a little bit of both. They have the best quarterback in the conference, but I just keep going back to Utah because I know what they'll bring to the table. I know that defense travels. I know that a great running attack, it travels. And I also know that a defense that wants to hit you in the mouth, that will happen 24/7, no matter where you play. If you play on grass, if you play on turf, or if you play on asphalt, it doesn't matter. They are going to hit you. So that's the type of football team that Utah is. And until you beat that team that won the Pac-12 in consecutive years, until you beat that team, they are the favorites to me.
It's hard to argue. I mean, those are the simple facts, and you're exactly right. And Utah has certainly proven that they can play at the top level, especially in this conference. Now, that being said, Utah's schedule does not quite add up to maybe last year's. Mm-hmm. It's not quite as favorable as maybe last year's schedule was. Got to go to Oregon State, which we talked earlier in this show. It's a really tough place to play. You say what you want, yes, and you don't think that they're going to be absolutely raucous every single time a Pac-12 team comes to their house. That place is going to be absolutely impossible to play in. They've got to go to USC, which I think may be the toughest thing, and they've got to go to Washington. Those are three games right there that are going to be very, very difficult.
It will be. And, I'm glad that you mentioned Oregon State because I think that's a team that really, guys, there's always that one team every year that we look up and say, how the heck did they make it to either the college football playoff or how did they go and win their conference? Like, how did that happen? Like, honestly, guys, let's call it what it is. TCU had no business making it to the national championship game. Like, I mean, we're just being honest here, okay? Look, if you looked up and somebody bet TCU beat in the national championship game, I would tell them to go right now, go to the Powerball or whatever lottery system out there is right now, and I'll go and buy you the ticket so we can win it together, okay? They had no business being there, all right? But Oregon State is that team that you can look up and say, I don't know how they made it. I don't know how they were able to go get to the Pac-12 championship game, or I don't know even how they were able to get that fourth spot in the college football playoff. They have a lot of great talent there, a very tough place to play, like you said. And don't sleep on that Civil War game at the end of the year. That game against Oregon, that could be a game that decides who's going to be one of the teams that goes to the Pac-12 championship game. So keep an eye on Oregon State this year.
Justin, I lied. Because I said we weren't going to talk about realignment, but I have to ask you what Coach Prime's reaction was to Dan Lanning's reaction to Colorado leaving the conference.
You know, it's interesting. He mentioned this on Friday during his press conference, and he pretty much just said, you know, it's interesting that the teams that are talking bad about us are now the teams that are moving. So when you have Oregon moving to the Big Ten, he mentioned that, right? And Coach Lanning, he says, well, what has Colorado done in the Pac-12? Well, Coach Lanning, let's call it what it is. What have you done in the Pac-12? Not just calling out names, but brother, you have a really good lineup. You have a really good quarterback in Bo Nix. You have a really great recruiting classes. But what have you done? You have done absolutely nothing yet. And to be very honest, even with the coaches poll out, you're not a top 10 team. So what are you talking about? Unless if you're happy with being a top 15 team in the nation, then I guess we can all go to the Holiday Bowl and we can celebrate like that. I thought it was just about winning national championships, but that's just me, right? So we'll see what happens and what Coach Lanning could do. I know this is that Coach Prime is continuing to go and make change happen within college football. And he calls himself an agent of change. And so it'd be very interesting to see what happens when he starts winning football games. See, everything's all fun and games right now when you have a better roster. Oregon clearly has a better roster than Colorado in almost every position, to be very honest with you. But what happens when Colorado starts to win games? That's what's really going to change everything. And I get it. Oregon, you go into the Big Ten. God bless you. But you still have to recruit the same talent because Oregon wants the best talent. And guess what? Coach Prime wants the best talent as well. And if he could be able to win some of these games, he's going to start to get after the talent that Oregon used to be able to get.
He's certainly an agent for change, and I don't think there's anybody that keeps up with college football that isn't going to be at least checking in on the Buffaloes from time to time just to see what they're doing, both, like you said, on the field and off the field from a recruiting standpoint.
Can I comment on one thing about that too? Guys, let's be honest. Are you truly going to tune in to watch the Colorado Buffaloes on the field, or are you going to tune in to Coach Prime? Because I would argue that the Colorado Buffaloes are the first team in a long time where you could care less who's actually on the field. You just want to watch Deion Sanders' team. That's really what it is. Think about it. We're talking about Fox. Fox is coming out here and saying, we are promoting Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes. Usually you say Caleb Williams and USC, right? You have all these other teams. Even Nick Saban, you usually say, we're going with the main player and Alabama Crimson Tide. But now you're looking at Coach Prime and whoever else is out there on the field for the Colorado Buffaloes.
Yeah, the thing is that the reason that Coach Prime, it wouldn't matter if he wasn't able to bring in talent. People would be watching to watch him fail. I think a lot of people are watching because they think that this team can actually compete a little bit. And I think that's a big factor in it is, this is Coach Prime has certainly had some success as a head coach to this point. Again, with all due respect to the SWAC, because I'm a huge SWAC supporter, but this is the Pac-12 and it's a different animal. But a lot of people feel like that when he brought his luggage, that it was in fact Louis. And it was, in fact, players and talent who can play at this level. So it's important to remember that, yes, folks are tuning in to watch Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes, but they're only tuning in because they think he can be successful. And I'm really interested in this season of Pac-12 football, if not just for all of the storylines that go into it, but it's the last time that we're going to see a lot of these games ever played, although I guess a lot of them are just going to move to the Big 12.
Yeah, we're going to see some of them play, just not in the Pac-X. Yeah.
So, this is a league that, and we've mentioned almost all of them to this point, but last year we had someone come on this show and talk about how the ACC was a dominant quarterback league. And as I look through the quarterbacks in the Pac-12, this may be one of the deepest quarterback leagues I've ever seen. I mean, we've mentioned Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, ish, but Cam Rising at Utah, Cam Ward at Washington State, Shadur Sanders at Colorado. I mean, that's 8 of the 12 teams right there with a legitimately good quarterback.
Which shows the importance of why Coach Prime made sure they went out and got some great cornerbacks. But you also, the other thing too is you better find somebody who is able to go and rush the passer. Because if these guys are able to sit in the pocket and have 7-on-7 football pretty much, you will find yourself on the back end of a lot of these scores. So you got to make sure that you get guys who are out there to get after the quarterback. You better make sure that you have somebody who's out there to defend. And oh, by the way, on the other side, make sure you have some guys who catch the football. There is nothing that angers me more. And I played the college game. I'm a Colorado Buffalo alum, so I have to put that out there, full disclosure. But when you have guys out there who are wide open and they can't squeeze onto that pigskin, man, that makes it very difficult to watch the game. So you just got some great quarterback play. And it's just about the defense. What can these defense do against these great quarterbacks in the Pac-12? Guys, I think the number one thing that we will see too is this. How about turnovers? We know that college football is a possession-oriented football game. Can you be able to steal a couple of possessions? That's really what might set a team forward a little bit. That might help Colorado be able to be a team that goes from maybe 5 wins to 6 wins. That might help an Oregon State to be able to be in the hunt to go into the Pac-12 championship game. That might help a USC to be able to do what? To be able to not just be in the top 4 in the college football playoff, but how about 1 or 2? What are those different things? If you could be able to go and steal some possessions, you have a great opportunity to be able to win in the Pac-12.
I have a feeling, Justin, that Deion Sanders can get a couple of cornerbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And that he can probably coach them up just a little bit once he gets them. So looking forward to seeing how that develops at Colorado under Coach Prime. But Justin Adams, at Justin Adams TV on Twitter, covers the Pac-12 and the Colorado Buffaloes for CBS Sports Colorado out in Denver. And Justin, we appreciate it, and have fun out there.
Will do, gentlemen. Always a pleasure. But know this is the greatest time of the year. We're 3 weeks away from being able to kick off the football season. It gets no better than that, guys.
You got that right. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking some time, man. We look forward to the final year of this Pac-12.
That's right. Guys, be blessed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, rapid fire reaction, all the things that happened over the weekend, we react to them as quickly as we can. So stick around here on Main Street Sports today. We'll be right back to the Lee Company studio in just a moment. Is he asking what kind of break? Is he asking what kind of break?
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris Yao and Mo Patton here, and it's rapid fire reaction. And I don't know that we can start this without getting into the Tim Anderson situation. So, Justin, I just sent you a direct message on Twitter with a video from this weekend. Let's just go ahead. Let's watch the video. We do have some updates from this. We've got the suspensions that have taken place.
This was Saturday night.
This was Saturday night, but we have learned of suspensions and everything. So let's watch what happened to Tim Anderson.
What happened?
Here come the benches, off we go. It started with Anderson. Here come the benches, off we go. It's
I mean, this is an absolute just.
This is a bad decision, is what this is, because Tim Anderson kind of pulled the hockey. You want to go, eh?
Yeah, he threw the stick and gloves down first.
Yeah.
And here's he put his fists up, like he was ready.
Yeah,
I think Ramirez was kind of pushing him off and trying to kind of, it is what it is, whatever. Mm-hmm. But Anderson said, no, let's get it done. And
he got done.
He got it. All right. The thing is, if 34 doesn't pull Ramirez back, I'm not sure he connects so cleanly, because legitimately, like 34 is actually pulling him backwards when he connects, and he probably would have just got his neck if 34 isn't pulling. So
he didn't get his neck.
No, he got his jaw, and Anderson, down goes Anderson, said said the announcers. So it was an absolute crazy event. But Tim Anderson has now been assessed a 6-game suspension.
He got suspended 6 games for getting knocked out?
How
does that work?
Well, especially considering that Jose Ramirez only got 3 games. That ain't right. Somebody say, that ain't right.
Wow. That's, well, I mean, obviously, I guess they're going back to the fact that
he threw the stick and gloves down.
He instigated the entire situation. And this is just the last in what has been a tough year all the way around for Tim Anderson. I mean,
it's not been a good
Does he
year.
have a home run yet?
That's a good question.
At one point, he did not. Around the All-Star break, he didn't have a home run.
It's not been a good year for the Tuscaloosa native.
Mm-hmm.
At regular season, 1 home run.
1.
Yes, he's finally hit a home run. I don't know who
he's on the board then, huh?
Yeah, he's negative 1.6 in WAR, and let's just say that he hit Jose Ramirez about like he's hitting opposing pitchers, and that's not very well. I mean, I hate to say that, but it is what it is. And again, he was given 6 games. Ramirez 3. Emmanuel Clace, Terry Francona, along with White Sox manager Pedro Grifol,
I believe,
and Mike Sarbaugh, Guardian coach, all suspended 1 game. What was Francona supposed to do? What was Grifol supposed to do?
I don't know, because I mean, by the time either of them
lack of
got
institutional
there,
control.
yeah, but by the time either of them got there, it was pretty much over with.
Yeah, I mean, what were they supposed to do? How are they supposed to handle that? Come on now, that's a little ridiculous, but I guess whatever. I think you said it best earlier. This just adds insult to injury.
It really does. I mean, 6 games and you got knocked out. I mean, that's
everyone's laughing at you today, and you got to sit for 6 games.
Yeah, that's tough.
Maybe addition by subtraction for the White Sox, but
I just feel like, you know, I don't think you can punish Tim Anderson any more than he's already been punished. I mean, he clearly bit off more than he could chew, and you're gonna make him sit for 6 games.
Yeah, so that is unfortunate.
It is.
You get to pick the next topic.
Well, I'm going to pick this one because I know you want to talk about it, and I want to make sure we do. Liberty 99, Aces 61.
Goodness gracious. It made so little sense. When I saw it, they were held to single digits in both the 3rd and 4th quarters, Mo.
Yeah, they were outscored 50-17 after the half.
I mean, that's
absurd. It was 49-44 at the break, Liberty. So I mean, it's not like the Liberty did anything different.
Las Vegas was leading in the 1st quarter
until Asia got elbowed, apparently. Again, the Aces still, by record, the best team in the WNBA, 24-3 overall.
And they did win the 1st game of the series between these two.
And they play again here.
They got 5 games, the 17th and the 19th. So they got a 5-game set in the regular season before they inevitably meet in the championship, I'm sure.
Inevitably. Yeah.
I mean, just ridiculous. I have not seen anything like that in a while. So kudos to, this New York team for not being overwhelmed by Las Vegas. But
why would they be? I mean, this is the matchup that WNBA people have been pointing to all year. I mean, these are the 2 teams that anybody that knows anything about the league have expected to be, in the championship series when it's all said and done. And again, when Sabrina Ionescu scores 23 in the first half, 31 for the game.
Yeah, she was huge, obviously. 12 of 19 from the floor. And I wonder how much of that in the second half was Las Vegas trying to catch up, fogging it up from wherever they could, just trying to, and then New York coming down and just extending the lead every single time kind of thing.
It just kind of feeds off of itself.
Once you're at 15 to 18 points, there's no difference between 15 and 18 and 30 because you're probably trying to, you're not running your normal offense trying to catch up. You're not chipping away. And this is a tough, but hey, they're going to lose occasionally in Las Vegas.
Liberty 22-6 with that win. So
they also got Minnesota back after that loss that they took. Real quick before we get out of here, Amari Jefferson out of Baylor flips commitment from Tennessee baseball to Alabama, where he'll play both baseball and football, which is not typically done by Crimson Tigers.
And I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be done here either.
I don't think so. I'm really interested in.
But I wonder, surely that opportunity was there for him in Knoxville, though.
Well, yeah, he was. I mean, he was on the. Josh Heupel was recruiting him to do just that, as was Kirby Smart. I mean, the opportunity was there. To me, I don't understand it. I don't understand if you've got the opportunity to play baseball at Tennessee and football. That's 2 top 10 programs. A team that just went to the World Series, and I know Alabama won their regional,
right,
and with the Supers, but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
So,
but I mean, it's Alabama football.
It is Alabama football, and that could be that could be the difference. So, we're going to get out of here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Looking forward to another big show tomorrow. Of course, Chip Walters will join us and more. So come back with us right here on Main Street Media TV.